Hello and welcome to the video lecture on distributed database options. You really have two major options when it comes to setting up your distributed database environment. One, you can set up a homogeneous environment where you have the same database management system at each node. For instance, Oracle or Sybase or something like that. They can be autonomous, so you can have a homogeneous autonomous, and if it's autonomous, they're all independent database management systems. You can have non-autonomous, which means they get all of their information from a central coordinating database management system. If they're all homogeneous, that means they're easy to manage, but the difficulty comes in the enforcement of the data, actually distributing the data to all of the different databases that are out there. Heterogeneous means you have a different database management system at each node. So you can set up systems with full or partial database management system functionality. As I said, depending on the vendor and the software that you're using. You can set up gateways, which are simple paths created for the database. And again, in this case, you don't have the benefit of that one logical database. These become difficult to manage because they're heterogeneous. They're all different kinds, all different configurations out there. But if you have independent organizations, for instance, as a result of a major merger, but the two merged entities still have some independence from one another, here's your environment. So graphically, if we take a look at this, you've got your distributed database environments. You're either homogeneous or heterogeneous. If you're homogeneous, you're either autonomous or non-autonomous. If you're heterogeneous, you either have systems or gateways. If you have systems, you can have the full database management system functionality or partial multi-database. If it's partial multi-database, we have federated and unfederated, which we talked about federated and unfederated in chapter 11. And then if you're federated, you have a loose integration versus a tight integration. So these are the environments we can be in. So if we're talking about systems, heterogeneous systems, they support some or all the functionality of the one logical database. So we can either have the full database functionality, so all the distributed database functions are distributed. All the database functions are distributed, it's another way of saying that. Or you can have partial multi-database, where you distribute some of the database functions. So, federated supports the local database for unique data requests. So, each location can have unique data within it. That can either be a loose integration, where the local databases have their own schemas, their own owners, their own sets of permissions, or you have tight integration, where the local database uses the common schema from the centralized system. Or you can have completely unfederated, which requires all the access to go through the central coordinating module. And we'll talk more about that in a later video. So homogeneous, when we're talking about a non-autonomous database, all of the data is distributed across all of the nodes, right? So they're not autonomous. All of the data has to be distributed across all the nodes. They have to have the same database management system at every node. And all the data is managed by the distributed database management system. There is no exclusively local data. They're non-autonomous, all right? They're just copies of the centralized node. And there is one global schema that's the union of all of the local schemas. So, taking a look at a homogeneous distributed database environment, we've got our distributed database management system. Again, appears to be logically a one database management system to the local user. And then you can see that the nodes are all identical database management systems that are somehow copied or replicated, which we'll talk about that in another later video. So as far as the global users are concerned, they don't care where they are. When they log into the distributed database management system, it appears to them that they are looking at the centralized global schema. All right. When we talk about heterogeneous, the data is distributed amongst all the nodes. You could have a different database management system at each node. Local access is done using the local database management system and schema. And if you're going to do remote access, that's done using a global schema. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we would have local users. And again, local really depends on the scale of this. This could be local, meaning a person in the same city as a particular node, or within an organization, within a building, could be someone logging into the local server on their floor, right? So when we talk about distributed database environment, scale has to be taken into account. So again, the non-identical database management systems are out there. They all synchronize with the global schema. So if you are a global user, you're looking at the global schema. If you're a local user, you're looking at your local database management system. And again, this is just, efficiencies and performance across the board. So that ends my video lecture associated with the different database, distributed database options.